Hey everyone, welcome to this week's conversation with Dr. Stephen Nedd about the body and how to fix, protect, or maintain it using outside-the-box alternative solutions. If you're a big fan of the pharmaceutical or surgical approach, you are so in the wrong place, because on this podcast, we're not going to be pushing the conventional medicine methods or way of thinking about health. If you're looking for another way to live longer and healthier, join me, Ron Nedd, and my brother Dr. Stephen Nedd for this week's body chat about good fats and bad fats. Me? I'm a retired Twin Cities chiropractor currently helping people buy and sell homes in the Tampa Bay and Los Angeles areas. My brother has a thriving chiropractic practice in the Clearwater area of Tampa Bay, Florida. In this podcast, we're going to chat about all sorts of topics related to health, nutrition, exercise, just about everything having to do with the body. You're invited to listen into our body chat, but don't forget that neither of us is giving you health advice, so don't rush off to do something without either checking with your doctor first or seeing Dr. Stephen Nedd as a patient at his office. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, Ron.
All right, so we're going to be getting into some important fats that are good for your health and some that are not so good for your health. So let's start off by just finding out what is an omega fatty acid.
All right. Well, first of all, fats are composed of what are called fatty acids, just like proteins are composed of amino acids.
Okay.
So fatty acids are composed of a short or long chain of carbon atoms. A short chain is less than 8 carbons, and a long chain is greater than 16.
Okay.
Now, they form bonds with each other, and a good analogy is two people in love, which starts with attraction or good chemistry between them, and this is represented by them holding hands.
Okay.
And this is similar in the chemistry that bonds atoms together.
Mm-hmm.
So when fatty acids strictly have single bonds attaching the carbon atoms together, they are called saturated fatty acids.
Okay.
Yeah, and saturated fatty acids are found in butter, cheeses, milk, red meat, and other animal-based foods, as well as tropical oils like coconut and palm kernel oil. And we're just not going to talk about those today.
Right. Okay.
But if there's at least one double bond present, then it is called an unsaturated fatty acid.
Okay.
And then going back to the couple in love analogy, this is similar to them holding both hands together instead of just one.
All right. That's a good explanation.
Okay, good. So the reason they are called omega fatty acids is because the acid end of the carbon chain is called the alpha end, and the opposite end is called the omega end.
Mm-hmm.
An omega fatty acid has at least one double bond in it, and the location is the first double bond from the omega end that determines what type of omega fatty acid it is.
Okay.
So if the first double bond of the molecule is located 3 carbon atoms away from the omega end, it's called an omega-3 fatty acid.
I see.
And if the double bond from the omega end is located 6 carbon atoms away, it's called an omega-6 fatty acid, and so on and so forth.
All right. So there's this string of carbon that are all connected to each other. And if the double bond that's in there is 3 away from the butt end of the carbon chain, which is the omega end, it's an omega-3, because that's how they determine that. You've got the end that's the thinking end of the fatty acid, that's the alpha part, and then the butt end, which is the omega part. And so however far away it is from that butt end part, where the double chain is, that's how they got it.
Oh, yeah, it's like a caterpillar. And so the head is the alpha end and the tail is the butt end, like you said. And so it's
the omega end. Yeah, so omega-3 has got a double bond 3 carbons away from the omega end, and 6 away from it is an omega-6, and so on.
Yeah, exactly. That simplifies it.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So that's what an omega fatty acid is. So now what are the 3 types of omega fatty acids?
Well, actually, there's 4 types.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead. What are the 4 types then?
Well, the most commonly talked about ones are 3, 6, and 9.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also omega-7s. The most important ones are the omega-3s and 6s for 2 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, they are considered what are called essential fatty acids. You may have heard that term before.
Right.
And what that means is that your body cannot manufacture them, so they can only be obtained through the diet.
Mm.
Your body can only manufacture omega-7 and 9 fatty acids.
Okay.
The second reason is the ratio between 6 and 3 in our body is of utmost importance for our long-term health.
And I'm sure you're going to go into that in more detail.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
A number of studies showed that we evolved on a diet of a 1-to-1 ratio of 6 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally, it should be around 1-to-1 to 4-to-1. But when it climbs to 7-to-1 or higher, this can produce significant inflammation in the body.
Interesting. And that's meaning if you have too much 6, or is it too much 3?
Too much 6 in compared to 3.
So usually the ratio is from 6 to 3 is 1-to-1 up to 4-to-1.
Ideally, yes.
And if it goes too much above 4-to-1 or it gets up to 7-to-1, then that's very unhealthy and it's going to cause inflammation.
Yes.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Omega-3 fatty acid consumption has decreased to 1/6 of the level found in our food supply since 1850. And during that time, omega-6 fatty acid consumption is more than doubled, which has drastically changed the ratio of 6 to 3 in our food supply.
Uh-huh.
A 2002 study showed that the typical Western diet ratio was somewhere between, get this, 15-to-1 to 17-to-1.
So no wonder there's so much inflammatory type of conditions going on.
That's right. In 2011, Dr. Joseph Mercola published an article saying it was somewhere between 20-to-1 and 50-to-1. And this incredible increase is partly due to farming techniques that now have most animals fed grains rich in omega-6s, as opposed to their natural pasture-based diets, which were higher in beneficial omega-3s.
Right.
So that's why you want to buy pasture-fed chickens, eggs when you buy that, and same thing with...
if you can find them.
I know, it's hard.
Have you looked around there?
Yeah, they do. We have it here.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Where at?
Nature's Food Patch and sometimes at Walmart.
Oh, okay, good. So it's going to say pasture fed or pasture raised or?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the increased use of refined seeds and legume oils in processed foods has also significantly increased our consumption of omega-6 fatty acids.
And people probably don't realize that a legume oil that they use very often is peanut oil.
That's true.
Because peanut is not a nut, it is a legume.
That's right. Just like lentils.
That's true. But you don't have lentil oil.
No.
Okay. All right. So now, what types of omega fatty acids do you want to avoid and why?
Well, that would be some of the omega-6 fatty acids, but not all of them. Remember on our podcast on cholesterol, we learned that cholesterol is not all bad since it has essential nutrition for normal function and overall health?
Yep.
Remember that? Okay.
Yep.
So, well, the same goes for omega-6 fatty acids because they are essential for health and the body cannot make them.
Okay.
So it's more important to limit or eliminate some of them, but not all of them.
All right. You're going to go over which ones to eliminate and which ones to leave in?
Yes.
Okay.
So specifically, the potentially most harmful omega-6 fatty acid is the long-chain omega-6 called AA or arachidonic acid.
Okay.
We're going to abbreviate it AA here. Another omega-6 fatty acid that you should limit or better yet avoid altogether since it can also produce more inflammation in the body is the short-chain omega-6 called LA or linoleic acid. And this is found in seed and legume oils, including corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil, peanut oil, and soybean oil.
Okay.
Another major problem with omega-6 fatty acids, particularly the ones we just went over, is that they contain harmful proteins called lectins, which we will cover in more detail in a future episode covering the Plant Paradox book.
Right.
Lectins not only cause inflammation in the body, but they also can cause chronic diseases, leaky gut syndrome, and autoimmune disorders.
Correct.
Now, you should also avoid the oil that has a combination of omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids, and that is canola oil, also known as rapeseed oil. There are numerous problems with this toxic oil, which has, of course, been marketed as safe and healthy and even touted as a wonder oil since it is low in saturated fat and is a source of omega-3 fatty acids. The original use of a product can really give you some good insight about it. It's kind of like the derivation of words giving their original meanings.
Right.
You know, Like I remember looking up pharmaceutical in a dictionary, and the derivation of it came from the Greek word pharmakon, which meant poison and witchcraft.
Wow.
Yeah. So rapeseed oil was originally used as a motor lubricant during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Today, over 90% of canola oil is genetically modified. When they process canola oil, an alarming number of chemicals and bleaches are added to it to achieve the clear liquid of the resulting product too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And since it's refined, it's often partially hydrogenated to increase its stability, but this increases its negative health effects since this also increases health-destroying trans fatty acids.
So that's not even worth using.
No. And as far as it being a source of omega-3 fatty acids, which they tout, that's true, but it's in a very unhealthy ratio of 8-1, omega-6 to omega-3. And if you remember, we just covered that anything at 7-1 or higher can significantly increase inflammation in the body.
Right. So there's really no benefit to it.
No.
All right. So then in what types of foods will you find these types of omega fatty acids?
Well, that would be meat from animals fed on grains being the main source of AA in our diets.
All right. So that's one of the bad ones.
Yeah. Other sources of AA include milk, egg yolks, liver, and farm-raised fish, including tilapia and catfish.
Okay.
Foods made with the unhealthy short-chain omega-6 oil LA, which are seed and legume oils that we went over.
Mm-hmm.
That includes mayonnaise, tartar sauce, margarine, salad dressings, and many packaged foods.
Right.
So it's really important that you read the labels and also find homemade recipes in which you can make alternatives to these using healthy oils like olive oil or avocado oil.
Right. Now, they don't have things like linoleic acid or anything like that on labels, right?
No. So that's why you have to know which specific oils are composed of these.
Okay. So you want to keep with avocado oil, you want to have olive oil, you want to have
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil. That was the one I was trying to think of. Thank you. So those are the main ones you want to stick with at this point in time.
That's right. And then foods made with toxic canola oil are everywhere. So again, really read the labels. And they include processed foods, chips, crackers, cereal, snack bars, frozen foods, canned soups, candy, bread, hummus, and oil blends.
Okay. So that eliminates a lot of those. Yeah. Unless they're not made with the wrong kind of oils.
Right.
I mean, it's possible you might have one of those that's made with avocado or olive oil or coconut oil.
Yeah.
Which types of omega fatty acids do you want to ensure that you have in your diet and why?
Well, the omega-3 fatty acids are ultra important again, since most diets are not only deficient in them, but also significantly lower in ratio to the omega-6 fatty acids. So here's some interesting info on this. Babies born from mothers deficient in omega-3 have insufficient levels to support brain and eye development. And school age deficiency can manifest in attention or behavioral problems. And then through the teenage years, mood is likely to be affected by omega-3 deficiency with particular risk of depression onset, while adults may be more prone to anger and irritability when they're low in omega-3s.
Okay.
Older adults with low omega-3 brain levels are at higher risk of stroke, memory problems, and early onset dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And low omega-3 levels at any age predispose individuals to higher risks of mental health issues such as depression and schizophrenia.
Wow.
Yeah. So the primary short-chain omega-3 is mainly made from plants and is called ALA, alpha-linolenic acid. The long-chain omega-3s are primarily made from animal sources and include EPA and DHA.
Okay.
The most important by far are EPA and DHA.
Really?
Go through this. Yeah. The reason is DHA is the primary structural component of your brain and retina, and it plays a vital role in the health of our cell membranes.
All right. So that's DHA.
DHA, yes.
Okay. And that's from animals?
Animal sources, yes.
Okay.
EPA is also important for brain function, but it is the primary anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acid.
Okay.
In addition, EPA is also the precursor to DHA, meaning that it is needed to make DHA. So when EPA levels are low, DHA gets sacrificed from the cell membranes and brain to step in for EPA, and so low EPA intake directly increases our rate of brain structure loss. Not good.
No.
So there's two problems with short-chain omega-3 fatty acids like flaxseed oil.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be converted in the body to longer-chain omega-3s, otherwise they're used only for energy. And the conversion rates are poor, and the reason I'm saying this is because vegetarians who will only consider supplementing with flaxseed oil or black currant seed oil to get their omega-3s are at a higher risk for all the conditions associated with low omega-3s.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm. Another important point about converting any of these short-chain omega fatty acids, all of them, the 3s and the 6s, to the long-chain fatty acids in the body is that they all require cofactor nutrients in order for these to take place.
Mm-hmm.
And these 5 primary nutrients are vitamin B3, which is also known as niacin, B6, vitamin C, plus the minerals magnesium and zinc.
Okay.
And magnesium and zinc happen to be 2 of the biggest mineral deficiencies that exist due to global soil deficiency of these minerals, along with our poor diet, consuming refined foods like white bread and sugar, where the naturally occurring nutrients are stripped away during the manufacturing process.
Right.
So that creates a whole other issue there.
Okay.
Yeah. The omega-7s and 9s are non-essential since the body can manufacture them, but they do have positive effects on our health, as they have been found to potentially reduce our risk for cardiovascular disease. And some of them, especially coconut oil, are more heat stable than the delicate essential omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, which means that they make much more suitable oils for cooking with.
All right. And which oils again were those?
The 7s and 9s, but in particular, coconut oil.
Okay. Good.
Now, the 2 omega-6s that are actually okay to focus on in your diet, and in particular as dietary supplements, are evening primrose oil and black currant seed oil.
Okay.
And I'll go over these in a little bit of detail here. Evening primrose oil is rich in the omega fatty acid called GLA, and it has many benefits to the body. It's incredibly beneficial to women suffering from PMS and hair loss, as well as it's an aid for fertility and for inducing labor.
Okay.
It's also outstanding for skin conditions, including hormonal acne, eczema, and psoriasis. And finally, it's also terrific for rheumatoid arthritis. In fact, one study showed that there was a 94% improvement in people who took it in regards to the disease-related symptoms of pain and morning stiffness.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and it's even helpful for osteoporosis when taken along with fish oil and calcium.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying these are specific omega-3s as opposed to something like the fish oil that's got omega-3s in it?
No, these are actually omega-6s.
Oh, okay.
Ones that are typically the bad guys.
Oh, so these are omega-6s that are actually good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So black currant seed oil, just like evening primrose oil, contains GLA, and it's loaded with antioxidants. It's terrific for your immune system, especially due to its high vitamin C content. It helps increase the elasticity of your skin and has been found to reduce the growth of various cancers, can even prevent and improve glaucoma, and it can also help and prevent herpes outbreaks, especially when it's taken with the amino acid L-lysine.
Great.
So these are awesome.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in what foods will you find these types of omega fatty acids?
Well, again, the most important omega fatty acids are the long-chain omega-3s, EPA and DHA. And their primary food sources are fish and fish oil, seafood, and a small amount is found in grass-fed meat and dairy.
Okay.
The best food sources of the short-chain omega-3s are found in ground flaxseed or flaxseed oil, hemp seed oil, perilla oil, and walnuts.
Okay, but those are not the ones you want to focus on.
No, those are okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can take them, especially vegetarians. Again, it's just that the conversion rate from them to the longer chain is not very good. And so as long as you're not a vegetarian, you might as well just stick with the long chain ones, which is the fish oil.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I recommend avoiding canola oil for all the reasons we've already covered. That's another short chain omega-3, as well as soy and soybean oil due to them being likely GMO and containing the herbicide Roundup.
Right.
Now, rich sources of omega-7 include macadamia nut oil, sea buckthorn oil, and coconut oil.
Okay.
And finally, the best food source of omega-9 is olive oil, which should not be used for cooking, but instead added to foods after they've been cooked, since high temperatures can alter the chemical structure of the oil, making it potentially harmful to your health.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now what health conditions seem to improve when there's an adequate amount of omega-3 fatty acids in the diet?
Well, I haven't quite an impressive list here. All of these have published studies to back them up.
Okay.
So here we go. Omega-3s can improve mental health in adults to the tune of reducing depression and anxiety, reducing the frequency of mood swings and relapses in people with schizophrenia, and they may help prevent age-related mental decline and Alzheimer's disease. In children, they've been found to reduce the symptoms of ADHD by improving attention and reducing hyperactivity, impulsiveness, and aggression.
So it sounds like a lot of cognitive skills and brain function and so on and so forth are helped if the person's getting adequate amount of omega-3 fatty acids.
That's right.
Okay.
They can also improve the risk factors for the number one cause of death, heart disease, by helping reduce high blood pressure, raising the good HDL cholesterol, and reducing triglycerides, blood clots, plaque, and inflammation.
Excellent.
Yeah, I know. They can also reduce the risk of certain types of cancer, which is the number 2 cause of death.
Okay.
Yeah. And other benefits include improving eye health, fighting autoimmune diseases, reducing asthma in children, reducing fat in the liver of people with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, improving bone strength and bone health, reducing menstrual pain, improving the length and quality of sleep, and improving skin health by preventing premature aging, improving acne, and protecting the skin from sun damage.
Great.
I know, it's incredible.
All right. That's a really impressive list of different types of health conditions that are affected by omega-3. Now, how much omega-3 fatty acids does the average person really need on a daily basis?
Well, that's a great question because there's so many factors involved, including person's body size, age, health status, level of physical activity and stress, and the types of omega-3 consumed.
Right. I figured that would probably come into play.
Yeah. So really, there's no set recommended standard of dosage of omega-3 fats, but some health organizations recommend a daily dose of 250 to 500 milligrams of EPA and DHA for healthy adults, in addition to any that they obtain from their diet.
Okay.
Now, I find that to be a bit low, especially due to the high intake of omega-6s and the ratio difference between the two. So I would say that the minimum amount of omega-3 fatty acids a person should consume really is around 1,500 milligrams, and easily 3,000 or above if you have a significant amount of inflammation or high triglyceride levels in the body.
Okay.
Yeah, most people get more than enough omega-6 oils in their diet, so supplementing with them is really not necessary, except for the specific ones we just covered, which were evening primrose oil and black currant seed oil.
Okay, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
So now what's the best omega-3 fatty acid supplement you know of?
Well, my personal favorite is Carlson Labs' The Very Finest Fish Oil. Each teaspoon contains 1,600 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids, including 800 milligrams of EPA and 500 milligrams of DHA.
Okay.
So I recommend taking 2 teaspoons a day. So there's 100 teaspoons in a bottle, so that equates to a 50-day supply if you're doing 2 teaspoons a day. It's pretty good. Well, this oil comes from cold water fish from Norway, where it's processed and bottled, and it's won awards for taste since it contains either lemon or orange flavor. It has no preservatives, and it's purity certified, meaning that it's been regularly tested for freshness, potency, and purity by an independent FDA-registered lab, and it's been determined to be fresh, fully potent, and free of detrimental levels of mercury, cadmium, lead, PCBs, and 28 other contaminants. Now, I'd like to add another to the list from my research this week, and that is krill oil.
I've heard of that. What is that?
Well, krill is a small shellfish similar to shrimp, and they're found in cold ocean waters near Antarctica, Canada, and Japan. And they primarily serve as a food source for other animals in the ocean, including whales, seals, penguins, squid, and fish.
Okay.
Now, in some ways, krill oil is actually superior to fish oil. It's more bioavailable in the body. Almost 100% of the EPA and DHA content is immediately available to the body when it's consumed, as opposed to fish oil, which requires the intestines and liver to process it.
Okay.
And because of this, you can only absorb about 15 to 20% of the fish oil that you take, while the rest is eliminated in your intestine. And this is what sometimes causes many people to not tolerate fish oil very well, burping up the fish oil taste.
Right.
And it's also often due to people with a sluggish liver and or gallbladder, and likely a deficiency of choline, which you can take as a supplement to remedy this. So my patients that have had these difficulties, usually choline handles it, but there are a few that can't. And so the krill oil would be a terrific alternative for fish oil.
Does Carlson have a krill oil?
I don't know. I'll have to check into that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, unlike ordinary fish oil, krill oil naturally contains a powerful antioxidant called astaxanthin, which prevents the DHA and EPA from going rancid. So if you use fish oil, it's a smart idea to refrigerate it after opening, obviously.
Right.
And by the way, there are 3 primary things that make oils go rancid: light, heat, and air. And guess which one is the worst?
Light.
Right. How'd you know that?
Because the bottle that the Carlson's fish oil comes in is brown glass.
That's right.
Because it's preventing the light from affecting it.
Yeah. And what happens is light produces free radicals in oils and speeds up the reaction of oils when they're exposed to oxygen from the air by 1,000 times.
Yeah, because even the olive oil and avocado oil, they've got green glass.
Yeah.
So any oil that you get is in a colored glass.
Yeah, always try to get a bottle that's dark, and even better, if you can find it in a box, that would be even better.
Right, something that blocks out as much light as possible.
Right.
Okay.
So other things about krill is the largest biomass in the world, and krill harvesting is one of the best regulated on the planet, with strict catch regulations that are reviewed regularly to ensure sustainability. So it looks like we'll never have a deficiency of that.
That's great.
And it also works at a much lower dose than fish oil. Because krill oil is so potent and used so efficiently by your body, you may only need 1 500 milligram capsule per day.
Wow.
I know.
Well, maybe between now and when this podcast comes out, you can do a little research and we can stick something in the notes with a link to where people can get a good quality krill oil.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay. That was all good information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there anything else you'd like to say about this before we end?
Yeah, this is something I'm really excited about. During my research this week, I found an at-home administered blood test for omega-3s that I didn't even know existed.
Really?
Yeah. So you can do a basic version of this along with a vitamin D test and be part of a consumer-sponsored research project aimed at gathering information on the population's vitamin D and omega-3 levels to better understand these nutrients and their deficiencies.
Okay.
You can choose to enroll in the one-time test for $99 plus shipping to test your levels with an extended health questionnaire, or you can participate in the full 5-year project where you provide your health information along with a vitamin D test and omega-3 index test for each 6 months for the 5-year period.
Mm-hmm.
So the initial test for the 5-year program is $99 plus shipping, and each 6-month test is $95 plus shipping.
Okay.
But the test I'm really excited about, and I'm going to do myself, is by a company called Omega Quant. Omega Quant. They have several tests that check omega-3 levels, including a basic one comparable to the one I just went over. But the one that gives you the biggest bang for your buck is the Omega-3 Index Plus test. So it includes the basic omega-3 index test, along with a test for the health-destroying trans fats, as well as a test checking your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. And finally, a test checking the ratio of the specific omega-6 AA and omega-3 EPA, which is considered by researchers to be the key biomarker for long-term health.
Well, that'll be interesting. After you do that, you'll have to share it with us.
Yeah. I'm going to look into having this available at my office to purchase, and the lab will send the results to both my office and directly to the patient. And I'll have a better idea about pricing after speaking with the company, but it appears to be even less than the other omega-3 index test.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So then if people are interested in that, they can contact your office.
Yes.
Okay, good. Anything else you wanted to share with us?
That'll do it.
Good. All right. Well, that was very good information. It helps clear things up. People hear about the omega fatty acids or omega-3 and probably had no idea what it was about. So this helps clear it up, why it's so important, why we even need to do it because of changes in the way that our food is processed and the meats that we get, the way that the animals are fed, all those different things, and why it's important and how it affects our health. So thanks for doing all that research and sharing your experience with us. And next week, I have no idea. What are we talking about next week?
Pain.
Oh, next week we're talking about pain and natural pain relief. And so people don't have to be relying on drugs to help with pain. So that'll be a very good one.
I agree.
Yes. All right, Steve, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Body Chat podcast. We both really appreciate your time and your attention. We want to provide you with interesting and informative episodes each week. And if you have a topic you'd like us to cover or any questions you'd like us to answer, send an email to us at info@bodychatpodcast.com. That's info@bodychatpodcast.com. To make sure you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes, subscribe to the Body Chat Podcast now on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or Spotify. See you next week.